3, 2, 1.
You ready?
Listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here, and we are reviewing it's a Christmas classic, but goddamn, is it a flawed Christmas classic. We are talking Home Alone, and I've got two special guests here. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. So I've got
Christina.
And I've got
Danny.
Thank you so much, guys, for your guys' first time. You never forget your first, so thank you. Thank you. So if you hear random laughing, that is Alea, who was just on our Cats review, which we saw yesterday, and God help us, we got through that. She's a truly amazing girlfriend for seeing Cats with me. But so we're talking Home Alone here, and I was, oh God, how old would I have been when I saw this? I was 6 when I saw Home Alone. And I remember it's weird going back watching Home Alone now, just knowing Joe Pesci's, in the Casino and all these mob movies, because if this was a mob movie, Kevin would have been dead 30 minutes in. This would be a way shorter movie than what we actually get. And to be honest, it should have been way shorter with these guys should just fucking shot him, but what you gonna do? So I just want to kind of start from the beginning here. This movie is frustrating in one sense, that everyone in the family are probably more evil than the Wet Bandits are. They're just the shittiest family to Kevin. So Kevin, I think they say he's 8 in this one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you say he's 8, and okay, so he's 8. First off, they never say what his dad does, that he's able to fly everyone to Paris. Because they say up front he's paying for everything. So I'm assuming finance, or if you subscribe to the insane theory that he's a mobster, like a hitman, which, apparently there is money in that. so maybe he is a hitman. But just breaking this down, I think my big frustration comes in just there's no one in the family to really even like. Kevin is kind of likable, but if he's 12 instead of 8, he's just every other young teenage asshole. So is that making sense? Or
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
I don't know. I just watching this movie, I was sitting there thinking, man, I totally forgot how there's really no one you can connect to except for Kevin, because everyone else in Chicago apparently are just the shittiest.
Yeah.
So, kind of your thoughts.
It's just kind of funny that his mom, for example, you're supposed to relate to her in a sense, but she's generally a shitty mom until she fucks up, and then she's like, "Oh, Kevin, I love you. It's all about family."
Yeah, no, that's really, so just kind of breaking down how this movie just kind of descends into what the fuck. So the movie starts off, they're having this big dinner. I can't even think of how many people are in this fucking house. It's at least 12, because there's at least 12, I think, including the uncle and the aunt. Uncle Frank, by the way, who kind of looks like a bald Sam, like a human version of Sam the Eagle from the Muppets. That's all I thought I was watching. I was like, he looks like Sam the Eagle. Why did I never place that? So I think everyone has that friend, or friends, plural, where, they're the last one to reach for the check if you guys go out to dinner, grab drinks or something like that. He's that asshole where he just doesn't want to pay for shit. He's the biggest cheapskate in the goddamn world. And as an adult, just sitting there watching, I was like, dude, come on, man. You couldn't pay for drinks. You couldn't have done the tip, nothing, man. And so the whole dinner takes place because Kevin goes ahead and gets to a fight with Buzz. I think they say Buzz is 14, probably 8th grade-ish, maybe. Buzz is a little fucker, too. This kind of buck-toothed Larry the Cable Guy kind of looking asshole. And So Kevin apparently, I don't know why, but he only wants cheese pizza. Buzz goes out of his way. What's the line he drops? He goes like, "Oh, well, if you want cheese pizza, you're gonna have to wait for someone to throw it up because it's all gone." It's like it's such an unnecessarily assholeish line, and I can say as the oldest of my three siblings, I definitely have my points where I was like, "Oh, you two are just dumb girls. I can't like you're just upsetting me." Like my sisters were teenagers when Twilight came out. I think that's all I need to say. All right, I had to hear about that shit, and whoo boy. But Buzz is almost like a serial killer in the way that he is just going out of his way to fuck with Kevin. And there's a point where he's like, dude, just kick him in the dick, or give him life somehow, or something. Like this fucker deserves something. I mean, so Christine, do you have siblings?
I have 2 older sisters.
Okay. So hear me. How's that?
Yeah, they never once treated me that shitty.
Really? Okay. So this feels more like an outlier than like the actual, like at least in your experience.
Yeah, they feel like they definitely beefed him up as like the big bully older brother, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, did you think so? I mean, Kevin again, like he's a kid. Do you feel like he's being too much of a dick, like outside of the realm of possibility? Because I think that's my biggest. Like, as someone who used to babysit, kids can be little fuckers. You know, like they really can be, even without realizing it. I think Kevin realizes he's being a dick because he even tells his mom, "I'm sorry," at a point. But it's because of Buzz, and Buzz is just like, so there's one scene, and there's so many things I think you can pick apart with this. There's a scene earlier on where he's talking about the pizza, and he's eating the pizza like real slow. Then the next scene, he is like shoving it in his mouth like he's trying to like escape with it. So when he starts choking, I went, well, of fucking course you're gonna choke on it for shoving a goddamn pizza in your mouth, you dum-dum. And so when he starts choking, like, you know, knocking on death's door, and Kevin attacks him and knocks over all the milk and shit, which, by the way, the mom said, "Oh, yeah, drink this milk because it's about to go bad." And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like, wait, what? Like, horrible parenting just all around. And I'm getting into Schlitz Creek. Catherine O'Hara is fucking amazing in this. But, yeah, everyone is just such a shitty parent. And this is where my complaints really just kind of started to snowball. So they have the pizza and the milk and all that on the counters, right? They have their passports, like, on the counter with the milk and everything. And I'm like, passports are very viable. And then the only tickets that get the milk on them happen to be Kevin's. So, you know, when they get up next morning, you're like, oh, well, that's really that's really shitty luck. Also, who's going to send an 8-year-old to pack their own suitcase?
No.
I mean,
shitty mom.
Tell me if I'm full of shit, because I feel like that's a really dumb thing to get an 8-year-old to do. 8-year-olds will barely clean their room, let alone.
Yeah, they'd probably pack a bunch of candy or random items.
Right, thank you. Like,
Nothing they need.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, why are you sending him? Like, yeah. And the one kid whose name I am blanking on, not Buzz. Good grief.
Fuller, the cousin.
Thank you. Yes, Fuller. So he's like Donald Trump Jr. because he has like a piss fetish apparently. Like he's talking about wetting the bed like he's just gleeful about it. And I'm like, put this kid in a tent or just away from Kevin. But the parents are willingly sending Kevin into a bed with the same kid, which is just. It's gross when you think like you take the step back and think about it.
You know, speaking of Fuller, that's actually Macaulay Culkin's brother in real life, and he played Wallace.
Oh, Scott Pilgrim, right?
Yes, and I had no idea until I saw that yesterday.
That's Kieran Culkin. I didn't even think about that.
It is.
Oh,
I thought
shit.
he looked familiar.
Okay, that's a trip.
Right?
Cause I love him, Scott Pilgrim. Like he's just. Yeah, he's basically Dustin, who we work with.
My gosh, he really.
I mean, he really is Dustin. But shout out to Dustin. I love you, boo. But yeah, he's basically Dustin. But okay, so of course he gets left home alone, and I just have to say, I think you can leave your kid. How do I put this? Leaving your kid at a liquor store for 30 seconds, going "oh shit" and turning right back around. That's one thing. but leaving your kid, like, because they go to Paris, so they leave this kid states away, thousands of miles, and you're just like, God damn, you were just, like, that can't happen. You know what I mean? Like, it would be like if I was, like, rocking a baby and I had just, like, a giant boiling pot for pasta, right? I was like, oh, don't fall on! Like, there's just certain situations you should never end up in, and this is one of those cases where I think Child Protective Services would be there so quick the next
absolutely.
day. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, yeah, so, oh, you left your kid for a couple days? Oh, that's really cool. Oh, say, see that vein that's blowing up right now? It's taking your fucking child. But, so, okay. I think I've ragged on the movie enough.
Well, this was a different time, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Back when you could just abandon your children for weeks at a time.
well,
It was the 90s.
I mean, back in the day where you could say, oh, I'm going to get a pack of cigarettes, and you can just abandon your family. Well, I mean, that is one thing I will say is, I guess Disney apparently is going to remake this. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what they do screenplay-wise, because so many of these problems would be stopped with a cell phone.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying, even then it could have been stopped. Like, they could have, like, what kind of responsible adult wouldn't put batteries in their alarm clock? And you're telling me there's a house full of 15 people and not one person set their own alarm?
You legit beat me to my next point. It's like, okay, like apparently the two, Peter and his mom, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the guy? Kate, thank you. Apparently they're the only ones who have an alarm in that house of 15 people, and it is very much a, come on now, really? Like, again, I know there are no cell phones, but...
It says right on the alarm clock when you pause the scene, it says battery backup.
Oh, does it really?
So they can afford that kind of house, but apparently they can't afford batteries.
The option was there.
Oh, fucking course. Oh my god. That actually makes me really happy. I did not know that. So, alright. At the beginning of the movie, you get Joe Pesci dressed up as a cop, and he's doing the whole sweep. I mean, there is something clever about this movie. I will give it that, to have someone dress up as a cop to be like, oh hey, what's your security system like and all that. Now, first off, even telling a cop what your security system would be just seems dumb anyway. You know what I mean? It just seems kind of like, all right. But even when Peter is laying out what they have, he's like, oh, we got, lights on a timer and automatic lights or whatever, and that's really all you can do. But I know that security systems have been around since like the late 1800s. So it's like you that's not the best you can do. Like, if you're living this nice of a house, fuck. Like, go ahead and spring for the $60 a month or whatever it is to go ahead and get a goddamn basic, security system.
Well, they got Kevin. They don't need one.
Right. So there is that whole fan theory that Kevin grows up to be Jigsaw. I don't know if you ever heard that. No, you are okay. So I kind of never put a whole lot into that, but after rewatching this, I was like, yeah, I can kind of see it becoming.
Makes a lot of sense
because, oh my god! So when we get to the actual fighting, I think fighting, quote unquote, but Joe Pesci has the whole police, showing up in a police costume and all that. First off, really realistic police costume. I know cosplayers are a huge thing, but in 1990 to get a hold of something like that, I'm like, I don't know. There's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow.
He probably killed a police officer.
I mean, you know what? I almost would appreciate seeing it. Because at least that way I would have some context. Yeah. But okay, so we have the movie on another monitor as we're watching this. I love the scene where Kate sends him to his room, and she's just being the worst. Like, you don't talk to your kid like this, where he talks about how everyone in this family hates me. She goes, oh, well, maybe you should wish for a new family. You're like, don't know. That's not how you talk to a child. And so he... now, admittedly, goes real far and goes, I hope I never see any of you ever again. And she goes, well, I know you don't mean that. I'm like, well, you did kind of egg him on, and Oh man, to be a young white kid, because if I ever talked to my mom like this, she would have whipped the shit out of me. like, so when he's saying all this, I went, oh man, I could never. I can't say that now at 32. It's like, okay, this kid apparently he's bulletproof. So, okay, I know we're jumping around here. There's a lot to cover. There's this neighbor kid who shows up when the vans show up to take him the airport shuttles or whatever. So this kid is just wandering. And so the guy who's loading their luggage rightfully so is like, get the fuck away from me, like, go home. But he's, like, digging in their shit like it's nothing. And at some point, I'm like, wouldn't you close the doors or something? Or, like, get a snowball and throw it at this kid? Like, he won't leave their shit alone. And there's just a point where I'm kind of like, all right, like, you know what I mean? Like,
maybe they do need that security system more than they thought.
Yeah, maybe they do. It's really weird. Also, the fact when they get to the concept that they would get to their place to O'Hare Airport and board in 45 minutes is a really unless they had a genie, there's no guy.
What was this pre 9/11?
Yeah. I mean, dude, you cannot do that shit now, man.
No.
I mean,
I don't even think you can run an airport anymore.
You know what's funny? We were actually, Alea and I were actually running in, whatever stupid airport Boston calls it. Boston, you're a stupid city. But we were running that airport and someone said, oh yeah, you guys can't run. And I was like,
really?
I was like, fuck, yeah. It was after a whole traumatic episode, but I remember I was like kind of jogging. He's like, "Oh, can't do that." I'm like, "All right, that's stupid."
But the fact that they're running, they have all that time to get to the airport, and they still don't notice he's not there.
Yeah, it's just the thing is, it really does come across like none of them really like Kevin. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're really going out of their way to just go like, "Oh man, we just kind of fucking hate this kid." Now, I remember being 8. I was a dumb 8-year-old, shocker, I'm sure to no one. But goddamn, like, he is, how to phrase this, just the way he even puts an ice cream sundae together, I was like, there's like no finesse to this kid, you know what I mean? Like, until he gets to what should be murder. It's just very, it's very peculiar to put it the least. Okay, Uncle Frank, seriously, he's worse than Wet Bandits for me, because when he's trying to kind of comfort Kate, he's just kind of like, sucks to suck, don't know what to tell you. It's like,
I forgot my reading glasses.
Yeah, you're like, god damn, dude, like, just shut the fuck up. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, he's just completely tone deaf, and part of me wants to be like him when I grow up. Maybe I'll just be jaded and not give a shit anymore.
Fair. You know what? I think as I get older, the less I care. I mean that it's a compliment. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. So, okay. Kevin, at a point, the Wet Bandits show up before things kind of get crazy, and they have their crowbars with them. So he hears the car door slam, and that's what wakes him up, right? So where was that incredibly sensitive ear when the whole morning of, when everyone's running around and he's not waking up? It's like okay, like I'm trying really hard to get this movie some rope, but
well, he was probably trying to, maybe he was doing the waiting game with his mom, trying to wait until she finally came up there and was like, okay, Kevin, you ready to come out now?
Too, though.
I mean, that's true, but I think you'd hear they were being loud. They weren't even being quiet, getting ready anymore. Like
scampering around.
Like, you think you'd hear something. As an American, I hate that fucking trope of when they're in that Paris airport and she just like bullies that woman off the phone. I was like, okay, like I get this is an emergency. Like, there's multiple phones that are open. Why are you why are you bugging this poor French woman who's trying to get laid or whatever you're doing?
Maybe she lost her kid too.
That would have been a great sequel. It's like a prequel to First Home Alone. It's like Kill Bill style. I would love that. By the way, the people who are working like the police lines here, they're just not good at their job. They're just like, your kid got left behind, like your kid's home alone. And they're very like nonplussed about it too. They're like, oh, like you're calling us from not a U.S. number. Oh, you left your kid at home alone. That sucks. Like they're just very like calm about it. I'm like, all right, you're 911. You need to be kind of like put a certain amount of urgency on this shit, but. Whatever. So, the thing I think that helps with this movie, John Williams, one of my favorite composers ever. You hear the Star Wars theme, you think like there's so much to go through for John Williams. Like, if you don't know who John Williams is, fucking Google him. But the music does a very good job of emotionally manipulating you because there are those points where it's supposed to be whimsical, and you're like he's on a sled on top of the stairs and it plays this whimsical music. There's no fucking way physically that those steps would allow for him to go down that sled and then get air out the front door. like he wasn't angled for it at fucking all, and physics doesn't work like that. But the music does such a good job making you go like, oh, it's so cool. And the more I was watching, I went, oh my god, like John Williams has been playing me for like 15 years. I never fucking thought about it. So I mean, credit to him. I love Joe Pesci and
Daniel Stern.
I was gonna say David Stern, but I know it's an former NBA commissioner. I always got that confused, so I was like Daniel or David. But I love Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern in this because Daniel Stern's is in one of my favorite movies ever, Bushwhacked. I fucking love that movie. It's a dog shit movie, but I fucking love Bushwhacked. And he's in Rookie of the Year, and I fucking love Rookie of the Year too. But they really should have shot this kid, like, first thing. Like, as soon as they shot him, should have, like Chappelle said, boop, shot him in the head, and moves over, 45 minutes clean. But they're just going around being dicks. Not just breaking into people's houses and just fucking their houses up, but then clogging the sinks and leaving the water on. I just think about coming home to that shit and how incredibly pissed off you would be. And just like, god fucking damn it. Like, yeah. So I was really happy when they also got caught and got hurt. Because I was like, you kind of deserve it for all the shit you've been putting people through. So, okay. I'm going to kind of throw it to you guys here. What did you like about this? Anything you hate? Christine, I'll start with you.
I do like the concept, like you were just talking about the concept of like why they're the wet bandits. I just think it's just super hilarious that would be their thing, like their signature move, as Marv like so thoughtfully put it. I don't know, for me it's just overall a classic that I grew up on, but watching it as an adult you're like, wow, this family is really the shittiest.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, like she said as well, it's a classic. I like the pacing in it. As some good themes on morality and family, that type of thing.
Okay.
So some different perspectives on that, and then like going off what you said about the score.
Yeah.
I worked retail. I hate Christmas music.
This actually
makes Christmas music somewhat tolerable because there's that nostalgia effect going on.
Dude, I remember when November 1st would hit, Christmas would start, and that shit was just like, fuck, like it drains you by the time you get to December 25th. So I completely feel that. So there's a whole scene where Kevin stages a party basically to trick the wet bandits into thinking that people are there, and again,
it works.
It works, but the thing is, the wet bandits never say, unlike near the end of the movie, what time they're going to show up at the house again. So, in theory, Kevin's been doing this shit since, 4 in the afternoon.
And not only that, how do they not notice the odd movements that are almost animatronic? And where the fuck did Kevin get so many goddamn mannequins?
Okay, it's so funny you bring that up. Alea said the same thing because I said, I remember, I was like, well, I saw a doll head or two near their cleaning stuff, and she was like, but what about the bodies and all that? And I was like, okay, that's fair. I do not recall him seeing any of that shit. But you are right. The fact that the movements are just exactly the same. I mean, if they waited 2 minutes, they'd know.
I bet you those mannequins are buzzes. It's got some weird mannequin finish.
Oh god. What makes me sad is that you're probably right about that.
We've already established he's a serial killer.
So there is one scene in this movie where, and I do kind of appreciate this because it reminded me of The Sandlot, where Buzz is talking to Kevin and then the other guy whose name doesn't matter in this, but he's talking to them about that neighbor who's across, who lives next door, who wears like the big boots and has the giant shovel and all. Yeah, and I appreciate that because it makes me laugh thinking about how quickly rumors get started like that when you're a kid and those urban legends. I really appreciate that. The guy looks like a less racist Liam Neeson, which I thought was cool. But anytime you see him at first, he's got that giant ass shovel, and you're like, well, yeah, if you're an 8-year-old kid, that would creep you the fuck out, especially after you hear about that. But it leads to the scene where Kevin's getting a toothbrush, which we were talking about off mic, and Christina pointed out the fact that Kevin goes, wait, he asked if this is like ADA, like official, which I don't know why an 8-year-old would know that anyway.
Why they would care for that.
Yeah, that just seemed a little like, I'm like, all right, whatever. But Kevin basically gets freaked out by the shovel guy, and he ends up unintentionally shoplifting, I guess is how you'd phrase it, kind of. Like, yeah, talk to me. Like,
and honestly, like, who sends a stock boy after a child for stealing a toothbrush? Like, why don't you just write that off as a loss at that point?
And now you beat me to our next point because I went, yeah, that toothbrush is what, $5 maybe.
Probably not even that.
Yeah,
in the 90s. That
well,
was
a
like
cheap one.
97 cents or something.
Well, what if it's ADA certified? Maybe it is. Maybe
they might tack that extra $10.
Yeah, maybe it is $5. But yeah, the fact that they send the stock boy to chase him, and then this cop who's in the middle of writing a ticket, by the way, and the shop boy yells out like, "Shoplifter!" and the cop looks up, he's like, "Oh, stealing a toothbrush, fuck that!" and the cop just drops everything he's doing to chase this child across a frozen pond, which, of course, the cop can't, cop didn't think about that. Oh, I slipped,
But they can't seem to catch the robbers clearly casing a whole neighborhood.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I do love the scene where the wet bandits are in the van and they're trailing Kevin, and not Marv. Oh God, what's the other one? What is your? Thank you. Where Harry goes, like, I knew that kid looked at me weird. Why would he run? It's like, cause you're stalking him, you asshole. Like you're in a 4-panel van. Like, what the fuck is this kid gonna do?
Oh, let's talk about the van for a second. It says OK Plumbing. Does that sound like a company that inspires confidence in their abilities?
It really doesn't. Like,
it's also plumbing and heating, and I mean, I don't know anything about that, but I feel like those two don't necessarily go together. Am I wrong?
I don't think so either.
Like, you're plumbing water and then also working on, is that air conditioning or?
Yeah, it'd be like open up a place called like Columbine Gun Range or something. Yeah. And like it'd be like do I really want to go and like, get certified here? I do appreciate the fact that I think this goes ahead and has a very good lesson about tipping, because that kid who works for, what was it, Little Nero's Pizza? So in the middle or the start of the movie, sorry, he goes ahead and just knocks their statue over like it's nothing. So he's driving way too quickly, number one. Number two, it looks like they're like an indie pizza place. So this self-imposed, if we don't get your food here in 20 minutes, it's free. Yeah. It really doesn't make any sense why you would do that if you have a bunch of, like, teenagers who don't give a shit driving your pizza. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make a whole...
And then he has to wait around the first time
for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was more like half an hour, it seemed like, because they're already eating. And
that's a fair point. Okay.
And they're like, oh, so you gotta go pay the delivery guy, honey.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. I did not think about that.
I put them on the blacklist. I never deliver there.
Right. And okay, so seeing John Candy in this, this is very much a film of its time, because if you're a mom or a young woman and a guy comes up to you and goes, "Hey, you can go ahead and get a ride with me with a bunch of my male friends," you'd probably go, "I think I'm good." I'll take it.
But he disarms it by saying, "Oh, I'm a polka player." That kind of softens the rapey vibe.
Yeah, I mean, but it still just made me think, like, man, they could just like run a train on this woman and be real. And what the fuck is she gonna do? It's a very dark. Like, if you just tweak it just a little bit, it's a very and they kind of wave at her like, "Hey." Luckily, no one looking at her lips from the way but I don't know, man. Like, you just kind of think about that. I'm like, okay, it's a little dark. I love the scene with Kevin and Santa where he basically goes like, "All right, I'm 8. I know how this works. I just want my family back." And for as very point A to point B as this movie is, I do appreciate the fact they show that Kevin's kind of chilling out a little bit. He's being a little less selfish. I'd imagine being stuck at home by yourself would kind of put some shit in perspective. So I appreciate the fact he kind of goes, "All right, I don't really need that." I didn't catch it until I watched it last night when Santa talks about not having candy canes for Kevin and goes like, "Oh, like the elf took him home with her boyfriend." It sounded to me like at some point Santa fucked his elf. Like, that's how I took it. Like, it just seems tell me if you think I'm completely full of shit, but I don't know, just the way he kind of said it, he put a little more emphasis on boyfriend, boyfriend, he's an obstacle that's in his way for him to fuck his elf again. That's how it came across to me. Again, please tell me you think I'm just
that's
way
pretty accurate.
All right, thank you. I appreciate. Again, that's my conspiracy theory for this fucking movie. But so that takes us, of course, to the third act where shit gets just. It's a saw trap. It is essentially a kid's saw trap, and I do appreciate when Kevin is laying out the plans that he had enough time to color everything. Just aesthetically, I appreciate that. I'm like, you know what? If you're gonna carry out an evil scheme, then why the fuck not? But so out of all and we'll kind of go through all of them, but out of the fucked up shit he does do, what's the one that that rewatched it and you went, "Oh shit, he did that"? Was there anything that kind of made you go, kind of surprised you, or?
I'm thinking of Home Alone 2 because the traps are so much better.
The traps are better in the second one. I will say, really clever in the second one actually too. I was like, wow, I forgot about some of the shit he pulled out. But since we're on Home Alone 1,
we'll stick to it.
Yeah, which ones kind of jumped out at you?
I'll go with Christina first.
All right.
Oh, I don't know. They're all there's just, I feel like there's so many things where you think, I don't even think I would have done that as an adult. I don't think I would have thought of that kind of thing.
So, my favorite one is the one that clearly makes the least amount of sense. When he has, that antique flamethrower attached to the door, I thought that shit was so fucking funny, but again, it automatically needs to follow up. How do they have an antique flamethrower like that? How is he able to get it attached to the door? You have to take that step back and go okay. There's no reason they should have this shit, but it leads to such a great trap, and it melds Harry's skull cap with his head, and I just thought that was such a really fucking evil but hilarious visual.
Yeah, that's there forever. Oh, the one that I do like is the thing he heats up the doorknob with, and then it burns the McAllister.
Oh yeah,
on his palm. He's marked forever now.
Yeah, I mean, so I've talked about. I hate the cold. I hate snow. If that's my panic room. If you put me in a room with Taylor Swift's 1984 or whatever playing on repeat with snow all around me, and then snakes, I'd be crying. But god damn it, I hate this room. But the way that I think they use Christmas as a theme near the end, I found really funny. When Marv goes ahead and he ends up trying to break in through the side window, and he steps on his Christmas ornaments. Okay, so I've stepped on Lego before. stepping on Legos is the worst goddamn thing. Like it's bad enough that'll ruin your day. It's like fuck. Like my sister used to have Legos. I remember I stepped on one like the morning of a midterm. I remember I was like, wow, cool, I'm gonna fucking fail this now. like God has cursed me. But so I stepping on those, I was like, that's really fucking violent. But I think where it gets kind of disturbing is where you realize that there's so many points where Kevin could have ran to his neighbor's house and just called the cops. Like, especially...
Yeah, they established the phones are working already.
Yeah. And he's just like, no, I'm going to go ahead and go out of my way.
I'm just
like,
going to murder some fools.
And there's at least 3 times where they should have gotten, like, they should have been dead. So, when they slip on the steps and like, fall on the back of their heads, that should have been 1. That's a concussion, at least. When he hits them with the paint cans and they go flying off the stairs, that's 2. And then, and I know there's more, but Kevin has a rope going from, like, the attic to his tree house, which, by the way, I always wanted a tree house. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like a lucky kid. Like, they never show him playing it or anything. I'm like,
only rich kids have tree houses. I tried to build my own, and it was a death trap.
That's fair. I mean, I would do, like, cool forts, but I was on a tree house, not gonna lie. But Kevin goes ahead and gets those, like, garden shears, which... again, really confusing how he doesn't know how to do other shit, but he's just like, oh, like, here's nothing. I got this. Like, I was built for this.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't have the tensile strength for that.
Dude, honestly, I still have trouble. Like, I'm 32, and I'm like, this is difficult. But it just... But when he cuts the rope and they go flying to the side of the house, you're like, oh my god, these guys should have been dead. Wrapping up here... I know we talked so much shit about this movie, but rewatching it, I did forget how much I actually do love this movie. And every Christmas, I put on Die Hard, I put on Elf, I put on Lethal Weapon. There's
Santa probably too.
I do love Bad Santa. What Bernie Mac's last role? R.I.P. to Bernie Mac. I love one of the lines that he drops to John Ritter. Where he's like, well, yeah, Billy doesn't have any problems. And he goes like, yeah, of course he doesn't, except for fucking women in the ass. And then they just stare at each other for like a minute, and he just starts eating that orange. I was like, whoa, that's really intense. But, Bernie Mac was the fucking best. But this movie, though, and I will say the ending, because, you know, he has this whole reconciliation with the scary neighbor who he thought he was afraid of, but ends up being a guy who has a pretty sad backstory. When you kind of get into it, it's like, damn, all right, like, you know, you and your family had a falling out, can't talk to your granddaughter. That's shitty. And I thought that wrap up was actually pretty sweet. I mean, you know, I'm not made of stone, but there's so many plot holes. You just take half a step back and go, wait a minute, and start poking holes here. We just watched the scene where he hits Harry Marvin the head of a shovel. That would really fuck up your day.
Well, here's my thing with that.
Okay.
That's a really light shovel.
Okay.
And there's so much drag on it because it's basically a wing going through the air.
You know, that's a fair point,
It
actually.
would be like a light tap.
It's true. They went through all this other shit, and then they get to like getting hit with the shovel, and that's what takes them down.
That's a fair point. I didn't think about.
Maybe that was the one like concussive blow that finally did them in, giving them permanent brain damage.
Yeah, there you go. It's like,
point.
yeah, I this is not Undertaker hitting Stone Cold with a shovel, like, which actually you just saying that I went, oh god, yeah. Like my first point of a reference with a shovel is either William H. Macy Mystery Men or it's the Undertaker hitting Stone Cold with a shovel. Like I don't know why it is, but there you go. You learn a little bit more about me, but. Yeah, I mean, wrapping up here, this is such a fun movie. Is it filled with plot holes? Good God, is it ever? But it's got a fun script. Macaulay Culkin. I think people forget this was like the time where Macaulay Culkin was everywhere because he had this. He had Home Alone 2. He had Richie Rich, which I forgot he did. He did the fucking Page Master. I fucked with some Page Master. I really like the Page Master, as bad of a movie as it is. But Macaulay Culkin was everywhere for a while. Yeah, I mean, as far as a grade, I do have to measure, my enjoyment with giant plot holes. So I will give this a B plus. I think that is fair for all the insane shit that happens here. It's a Christmas classic, obviously, but yeah, it's a Christmas classic that if you do look at it, you're gonna go, "Oh, okay, movie. Like, let's ease up." And by the way, there is not a Christmas gift in the world good enough to make up for what these fucking parents did. Like, they would have to buy them a car at this point, yeah. which who the fuck knows? Maybe they can afford, but. And one last quick thing before I throw it to you guys for your grades. The fact that they can go back from Paris to the U.S. basically, like, as quickly as they do is a very, like, how much money do you think that shit fucking was? Like...
I actually did the math.
Did you really?
I really did. Of course, it was a lot of, loose math, essentially, just because a lot of things have probably changed since the 90s, and who knows, maybe it'd be more expensive back then, but... It essentially cost the entire family of 15 people to go to Paris. And did it ever say how long they were going to be going to Paris for?
I don't think so, no.
Well, based off of a week vacation, because who would go to Paris for less than a week and go through all that trouble?
Fair.
Would be $50,000 for them to go there and back, and that's with all expenses paid. And that's probably the low end. And we all know, based on their house, they did not just, spend the low end.
Good God!
Crazy expensive.
Oh my God, that's...
Yeah.
Wow, worst parents ever.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about what 50 grand could buy you, too. Like...
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry, you're great. Go ahead. Sorry. Oh.
I think I would agree with a B+, because like I said, it's just such a classic, but there definitely is a lot of flaws here and there, and loopholes, and just shitty parenting that kind of boils underneath your skin, just at least a little bit. So, I mean, it couldn't go full to the top, but B+ sounds about right.
All right. What's you?
I'm going to say A-.
Go A-.
To be contrary.
Oh, look at you. Okay. Why an A-?
Well, because like I said, it's a classic movie, and I'm of the mind that it would not work without the plot holes. It would not work as well.
You know what? That's a fair point. Because... Yeah, there's so much of that is so coincidental, and you just kind of at a point have to go, all right, like, so okay, you know what? That's fair. I can't even be mad at that. I'm gonna totally spoil it. That's kind of what I'm thinking about for Home Alone 2 is maybe an A- because I do enjoy Home Alone 2 more than I like this one. But
now I'm gonna have to get an A for Home Alone 2.
I mean, you might. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, guys, if you haven't seen Home Alone, I actually have a couple friends who have kids and they have not seen Home Alone yet. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like,
are you trying to be Kevin's parents?
Nice.
That's basically child abuse.
Right? I'm so happy you just said that. But I gotta say though, I used to own them. I have no idea what the hell happened to them, but Disney Plus has them, so I was like, oh, hooray. But this is something I'm going to have to rebuy, because I just need to have these.
Well, it's on all the time, much like A Christmas Story, which is another
classic. That's true. Yeah, you put your eye out. God, that poor kid, man. Like not even to get into a review on that, but just, I remember, oh God, what was the fucking toy? Oh yeah, there's this Stone Cold Steve Austin figure I wanted, right? Back in the day. I went to Toys R Us for like 3 months. And we got to a point where we were calling, trying to find this fucking doll. Sorry, action figure. Pardon me.
Jingle all the way.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I fucking love Jingle All the Way. But it got to a point where I truly thought that God hated me and didn't want me to have this doll. Because I remember there were 3 in stock. We called in. We're there 40 minutes later. They're all gone by the time we get there. We're like, what is happening? I remember just being so, unbelievably pissed off. And there are just those times where, and I'm going to bring this up because, we can just go right into Home Alone 2. Why not? It just feels like the universe just wants Kevin to either be a survivor or wants to kill him. You know what I mean? Because, being lost, being stuck at your own spot, that's one thing. But being in a city you don't recognize, you have no idea where you are, that's got to be terrifying. I've gotten lost taking Ubers. I'm like, oh fuck, this is like this seems terrible. Like, I don't know, and I've never been to New York. I'm actually going in October. Actually, I'm really excited to go, but New York for a kid, like you hear about those kids who get lost in, like Disneyland or Disney World. And you think about New York City, and that is just like the most like I wouldn't give a kid a day in New York. You know what I mean? Like they eat some like street meat or get food poisoning or something like that. They get hit by a cab or or Kevin Spacey rolls up and sticks a kid. There's a lot of dangers in New York, is what I'm saying. But
honestly, the thought of New York as an adult kind of terrifies me, to be honest. Just because
really?
There's so much going on, and like, how can a kid go there and not just be completely overwhelmed? And like, how would you even make your way around anywhere? You know?
I went there as an adult. I got scammed.
Did you really?
Yeah.
When did you go?
6 years ago.
6 years ago?
Yeah.
Was it just a vacay or?
Yeah, like we my family and I went there because we went to Pennsylvania. We went there just for like a day, and we got talked into one of those double-decker bus tours, and it was a complete ripoff.
Oh, really?
It was a complete scam.
That's a drag.
Yeah, but that wouldn't happen to Kevin.
Noted. Okay, so I'm getting the Home Alone 2 here. So, you know what's funny is I like this movie more than I like the first one, but I actually have more problems with this one than I do the first one. So I'm dating myself here. Don't care. But he had the it was called like the Talkman. It was like that video, that recorder he was using. And I remember being at KB Toys and Toys R Us as a kid, and they were hawking those like they were hawking Turbo Mans when King All the Way came out.
Yeah.
Like I remember there were just these grand displays of Macaulay Culkin like holding the tape recorder out and be like, yeah, you want one of these, don't you? I remember all these white kids in front of me, like, yeah, we love them, and like grabbing them. And I remember I was like, I'm getting wrestling toys and a basketball, like you can keep that shit. So the whole plot essentially of this film is built around that goddamn tape recorder, and it's one of those first times I remember going like, wow, people say product placement doesn't work. Sometimes it works really well because they are pushing the shit out of this fucking tape recorder. So this year they're going to Florida, I think they say. So this movie also starts off, by the way, with a really creepy scene because it's got Uncle Frank, who hasn't gotten killed yet, which is fucking unfortunate. But he has this line he says to Kevin because he's like taking a shower, and he tells Kevin like he can't come in the bathroom because if he does, like he won't feel adequate as a man. He said if you saw him naked, he'd never grow up feeling like a real man. I'm like, that is one of the creepiest goddamn things you can say to someone who's in your family. Like, you sick asshole. And that's 5 minutes into the fucking movie, and it drops that line. I was like, whoa, like, easy, you know. That'd be like being the president wanting to fuck your daughter. Like, let's ease up here. But I remember watching that last night with Leia, and I looked at her and went, wait, what the hell did he say that? And we went back and rewound it. It's like, oh, that's really uncomfortable. So he ends up recording him, which is creepy in itself if you really want to, take the step back. But he ends up using that recording later in the movie in a way that's... Go ahead.
I was going to say, one thing that really bothers me is that he records later than it shows later on.
Yeah.
Plays it. And I like that. I don't know why that bugs me so much, but it does.
Well, it's funny because this tape recorder he's using is like magic because it's queued up at the right time whenever he turns on. He either has to fast forward or rewind. You're like, oh man, like so either this tape recorder and you were like have like a hyperlink or something, or this is fucking bullshit.
And apparently the speaker on it is like Dolby Digital or something.
I didn't even think about that.
Projects sound.
Yeah. Oh god, I did. Yeah, that's that makes me sad. So the whole crux of kind of the conflict, because you have to have the family be mad at him again. So Buzz like I said, Buzz is like 14, 15. So it's really confusing why him and Kevin would be in the same choir anyway. Just to start, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense them being in the same choir, which I'm like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. So there's one thing. Two, the whole prank that Buzz is playing on him, he's kind of using his candles, like putting like ears on him and all that. First off, if Buzz can get hit by an 8-year-old and get tipped over that easily, you deserve what you fucking get. And come on, man. Like, really? That's all it took to knock you over? So that's one. Two, the physics don't really make sense that everyone in the choir would get hit because Buzz is in the back. So the concept that he would like fall backwards and kind of like hit his left and right side, knock all those people over. It's a very like, come on now. So so that scene leads to basically Buzz giving this bullshit apology to everyone. Which I gotta be honest. Look, I'm not a parent. Have no desire to be, by the way. But except a cat parent or a dog parent, those are great. But kids, yeah. But the fact that his parents just buy the bullshit, I went, come on, you got all these kids around. You know Buzz is a piece of shit. Why are you just like, oh, that's so nice? Like, you're the most gullible son in the dictionary too, right? like they're just bad at being parents, and it's really kind of frustrating. Buzz even kind of goes up to Kevin and turns his back to everyone else and goes, beat that, you old trout sniffer. So, how no one heard him, I went, come on. Like, really, no one's hearing is good enough to hear. Like, he didn't even really whisper it. Like, he kind of said it, like, at this volume. But you can hear that. Like,
and not only did the family buy the apology, they applauded it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think. Yeah, they did.
That's
didn't
just
they?
What is going on there.
Well, my thought too, like being a younger sibling, I feel like my parents. I mean, not that I was a little shit, really. I mean, I might have been here and there, but I feel like my parents would have taken my side over my older sister's side because when you're the older sibling, you should know better, kind of. That kind of idea. So I don't understand why they were kind of siding with him.
That's that's an interesting point. I didn't think about that. So the best part about that scene where Buzz like, I'm sorry, and Uncle Frank again strikes again. Goes like, you better not ruin my trip. Your dad paid good money for this. And Kevin immediately shoots back, oh, wouldn't want to ruin your trip, Mr. Cheapskate. And I remember I was like, good for him, because you know what? Kevin, his dad's been wanting to say that shit for probably a decade, and his son said it. I'm sure he was swell of pride. He probably upped his allowance next week. I mean, granted, they left him in New York, so they probably upped it anyway. Child services. But it was really, I appreciate that, because if there's one thing about kids will drop truth bombs and feel no ways about it. And yeah, I appreciate that shit. I was like, all right, like good for you. So of course, him and his mom have to fight again about. And this is where I go as a mom, like, come on, girl, like, just Kate, be better. Where he goes like, if I had the money, I'd go on a trip by myself, alone. And she goes, well, you asked for something like that last year, maybe you'll get it this year. I'm like, girl, like, stop doing that. I'm like, bad parenting. So
wouldn't she be more traumatized after it happened the first time to know, like, maybe I shouldn't say negative shit like that to my kid who ends up in these situations every Christmas?
I think if anything, I don't know if you want to go on a trip, because the movie wants to make you believe like it's been a year since the last time, like since the first film. So the concept that I think you'd go on a trip again this soon, I don't know if I would, to be honest with you. I mean, I might go on a road trip, like.
Yeah, they just burned $50,000.
I mean, that's a really good point. But that was just kind of something I went, I don't know if I can really fucking buy that they'd be like, oh, let's.
Like, any other mom would be, like, so traumatized she wouldn't want to leave at all, I would figure.
No, I agree. I feel like this would be one of those cases where you would almost, You know how some parents are weird and they have like their kids on leashes and shit? I think that'd be one of those, like one of those cases where you would just be holding Kevin's hand so hard that you'd be like making it cramp because there's no way you can let this kid out of your sight, you would think. But then, of course, the parents go to the airport with everyone. It seems like they're slightly more organized this year, which, I mean, I'll give them credit for that because, yeah, they do wake up late. But it seems like everyone's able to pack a little sooner than last year, so yippee, I guess. So everyone's together, which I'm like, okay, this is good. You took the shuttles together, da-da-da. So Kevin's like, hey, Dad, I need to get some batteries. I don't know. I kind of would just give him the batteries. I'm like, fine, fuck, okay, like, just zip it. But he hands him his whole bag with his money, his credit cards. I'm like, all right, like... Now tell me if this just seems, but I just don't know if I'd give Kevin all that. You know what I mean? Like, I know he's looking for the batteries and all that, but I would have like, here, yeah.
It would take the same amount of effort just to give him the batteries.
Yeah, I think just you knowing the history that, you know, with what's happened with Kevin, that you wouldn't want, you know, to take any chance of him getting lost. I love the fact too that as they're running, no one's looking out for Kevin. They're just looking straight ahead, like, oh, well, it's just, God damn it. Like,
I'd have him in a baby Bjorn or something like that.
Yeah, right. Like, have him ride a scooter or something. But it's like, God damn, guys, like they're just like, oh, don't even care, whatever. So this is obviously pre 9/11 where everything is like they fine tooth comb fucking everything now when you fly. So he's running trying to catch his dad. He sees another white dude because they all look the same to me, but he sees this other white guy in a nice coat. The coat was clean, dude. I gotta say, I was like, damn, okay. But they're running towards to go ahead and get on the plane. He follows the wrong awesome white dude in a nice coat and runs into the lady who has all the tickets. So, first off, the lady just goes, oh yeah, he must have had a ticket. Like, didn't even take the time to, like, scan it. Like, I know he knocked over a pile, but it is, like, they wouldn't do that shit now. They'd be like, oh, yep, well, tough shit. You're not making your flight. You're not making your flight. But I have to give the airline credit on this. So, yeah, we just watched where he runs to the lady. But the guy he's not like the pilot, but he's like working for American Air. He tells the lady, like, book him, but make sure he finds his family. Like he did his part. He was like, make sure he gets on there, but you need to make sure he fucking sees someone. So Kevin gets on the flight. Of course, he sees the wrong guy. And shocker, he gets to New York. So when he gets to New York, it felt like I was playing Spider-Man because he's getting from like Brooklyn to like main part of New York to Manhattan. He's just zipping through all these spots like it's nothing. And as little as I know about New York, I was just looking up where certain landmarks are, and they're like a half hour apart from each other easily. So by the time he checks into the hotel and it's still bright outside, like it's like 2 in the afternoon, I was like, wait a minute, it'd be like 7 like, at this point. Like, there's no goddamn way, because he's like going across the Brooklyn Bridge and all this. I'm like, wait, then how are you at the World Trade Center? What? And I know some people are gonna say like, dude, you're being way too, but there's just a point where I'm like, I can suspend disbelief, but I was like, fuck, I'm just noticing these things, and not even like looking to try to pick this movie apart, but it just, some of that just kind of was irritating. Christina, talk to me here. Am I off my rocker here?
Yeah, I actually never put that two and two together with that. I mean, I've never been to New York either, so I don't really know, but yeah, I probably would have been really late in the day after a whole flight
yeah.
to Chicago, you know?
Yeah, like, it's just like, come on now. Also, it would have been cool for him to take on some different villains, because so they do show this like newspaper fly up on the door saying that the wet bandits escaped during a prison riot. I mean, the odds that it'd be them, you know, of course, like, what are the odds? But the fact that they would get from Chicago to New York, which they never really say how, like, they come like a fish truck, but but had to get on the, like, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, like, they just happened to be, so, okay, maybe you can suspend your disbelief for the fact they both end up in New York. Like, okay, fine. But the fact that they would be on the same street in New York when they are is, come on.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, like,
It's a bit much.
yeah, it's a
Stretch.
it's a bit much. Now, I will say, Daniel Stern is probably my favorite actor in this, because Daniel Stern, I think he knew exactly what he was in. He's like, all right, this is a sequel to a movie that no one thought was going to be even close to as big as it was. Actually, I'd be curious to know what Home Alone's budget was. Wow, Home Alone, released in '96 and November 16th, 1990, made $476.7 million. That's insane for a '90s film. That's okay. That's actually really impressive, I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the first or the second one, but I know that Macaulay Culkin apparently made, like, it probably still holds to this day, he made the most that a 12-year-old had ever made. It was like $4.5 million or something.
Really?
Yeah.
And the second one, on a $20 million budget, made $359 million. Like, that's crazy to me. I mean, like I said, I love this movie, so I can't even. But that, I mean, hearing that number, I mean, that's more than Cats is gonna make. Thank God. But looking at the movie though, so Kevin gets to New York, gets checked in at the hotel that he heard at the beginning of the movie during this commercial. It's the one time I've liked Donald Trump, maybe ever. I mean, because Donald Trump's in this for 5 seconds, and it's really, it's going to sound weird, but while I am not a fan of pretty much anything Trump does, it's really surreal to see him in Home Alone 2 and just think about what's coming. Like, not just the fact that he's gonna unfortunately become president, but the fact that he is at WrestleMania getting a Stone Cold Stunner and all the shit. like it's just a weird thing that that's that guy, you know what I mean? And I never noticed it, but Kevin runs into him and goes like, yeah, can you tell me where the hotel or like the lobby is? And he points him in a direction, but then Trump like stops and turns back and looks at Kevin. It's just a little weird, like why are you staring at this kid, you weirdo? So Kevin gets checked in the hotel. I have to say too, and I realize again, there's a surprising amount about this movie I want to talk about. Tim Curry is one of my favorite actors. I think the man is fucking brilliant. I forgot he was in this shit, and I was like, oh my god, Tim Curry, like clean shaven Tim Curry. I just watched him up at Treasure Island, something like bearded Tim Curry, but he is so goddamn like incompetent, but like he's like that guy who failed the FBI exam, so he's like the most like aggressive mall cop ever. You know what I mean? Like it's great, and I have to say, if this was a hotel where you got fooled by a 10-year-old. I don't think you'd be in business, number one. I really don't. Two, the way he's able to use his credit card, and he uses the tape recorder, and it just slows down his voice to make it sound like a door. He's like, credit card, you got it. And it's like, and they buy it like it's nothing. I'm like, God damn it! You're just like I'm sure if you're working at 800 number, you don't give a damn about the calls you're answering. I get it, but a little common sense on like, oh, that doesn't sound peculiar at all. Yeah, let's go ahead and get you a room. Like, okay. And also, Kevin asked for these very specific things. He's like, I want a fridge that unlocks with a key. But they give him like a fucking suite, so they upsold him for no goddamn reason. They were just like, nope, you're gonna go ahead and do this. It is cool because I will say when I travel, I do splurge in my hotels. That's like my one thing. I always am like, I'm gonna get a nice hotel room. I'm gonna get it close to wherever concert I'm gonna be at or whatever. I like to splurge on that stuff. So when you see him kind of get this new go in this suite, which apparently even the mini fridge they knew a 10-year-old was staying here because it's full of candy and all that shit. Like, I mean, very, convenient to say the least. Oh my god, Rob Schneider's in this. I totally forgot Rob Schneider's in this. God.
Such a baby face, too.
I know, but before he did dumb shit like The Animal.
Before he was a stapler.
Yeah. Okay, if he was a stapler in this, I would have liked this movie way more. I'm just saying. But I do appreciate that he, in a very condescending way, kind of like snaps at him, like, hey, like, I want a tip. And Kevin gives him some gum, which I went, ha, that's funny. But later on in the movie, Kevin has like $500 in his hand. And he's like, oh, no, don't worry. I still have, I don't need another tip. I still have this left over. He's like, oh, never mind. No money. It's like, wah, wah. I do appreciate, too, Kevin seems nicer in this movie. It seems like the trauma's kind of stuck with him a little bit. Because, I mean, he goes and practices cannonballs and even asks, like, would it be okay if I worked on these? Like, he's polite to everyone outside his family, it seems like.
Well, when you have parents as negligent as his, you kind of have to grow up pretty fast.
That's true. You're pretty much taking care of yourself.
That's a really sad but a very unfortunately accurate point that I didn't even think about. I love that there's this, he gets room service, which I'll be honest, I would have done the same thing too. It's just like, I'm a fucking kid, I want ice cream, fuck it. And this guy is just standing over him. He's like scooping on ice cream. He just has the saddest look on his face, like I'm serving a fucking kid right now. like he just, it looks like he just fucked up a job because of alcoholism, and just has to be there. Like I got some sick enjoyment out of that. So okay, now we're getting to the insane shit. So Tim Curry's character, whose name I'm trying to look up because I'm just blanking on it right now, but he goes ahead and sneaks into Kevin's suite, and the real question is, what the fuck was his plan? Like, what was he gonna do? Like, so first off, you would sue the shit out of the hotel and get it closed down. If someone opened your door when you're in the room, you'd be like, what the actual fuck are you doing right now? So that was something I was like, okay, that's no.
Well, it's kind of his attitude. He thinks he's larger than life.
So Tim Curry's literal list is a concierge. He does not have a name. Okay, I feel better. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I did see something too. I was reading that apparently in the script he had a name, and it was like Mr. Hector or something like that.
Okay.
They never mentioned it in the entire movie. So
yeah.
He didn't mention or didn't miss anything.
Okay, that's a good to know. So Kevin, it's weird because he hears the door open and he freaks out, but he freaks out like he's stealing the room. Like, and I know he is in theory stealing the room, but he told them like, "Hey, my dad is gonna come down later and sign it." So it was just kind of weird to see him freak out when it's his. Like, I was just like, "Why are you?" I was like, "That's just kind of unpleasant, but a little weird, but whatever." And it leads to him doing basically the same thing he did in the first movie, where he had the whole party and the whole Christmas party of all those people, all those mannequins and a lot of shit. But he had gotten this inflatable clown, and does the exact same fucking thing, and you just kind of go, all right, like it's dumb, but.
Somebody pointed out that the clown thing was supposed to be because of Tim Curry playing in It.
Oh!
So like they threw that in there, I guess, for that reason.
Okay, you know what? I actually like you now. all right, fair enough. All right, that is a one way he gets a pass because it's a Pennywise callback. I like that. So after that uncomfortable scene, I do appreciate this because it kind of gave me blank check vibes. Because Kevin gets this really clean stretch limo, and I will say, I've only been in a limo a couple times. Want to get to a point I can be in a limo every day. Did
they allow you to just eat like greasy ass pizza in there, or is that?
I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, you gotta figure they clean those, like they deep clean those like daily. Probably.
I figure if you got the money, you can do it.
Yeah,
I would just feel uncomfortable doing that.
I'd be okay eating a pizza in a limo, but I wouldn't be eating like chicken and waffle. You know what I mean? Like pizza, at least I could maybe keep it under control. But But okay, so for as simple as this plot is, and it is, Kevin's in New York, goes ahead. He's on the run because he's using his dad's stolen credit cards, which, credit to the kid, I don't think I would have been smart enough to think about that when I was 8 or 10. So I appreciate the fact he's able to hilariously con these really dumb, almost not handy-capable adults who work at that fucking hotel. But the wet bandits are back, and they go ahead and they decide to go ahead and rob a toy store, which is so cartoonishly evil. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, they could have just stolen from Salvation Army, which in theory is redundant. But they go to this toy store and go to steal money. And I don't know. I appreciate that in a truly fucked up way. I appreciate just, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
And then they say nobody's stupid enough to rob a toy store, and then pretty much imply, except for us, we're that stupid.
Which I will say, it made me sad that they didn't go to rob the toy store and there weren't like another set of robbers over there.
That would have been perfect.
Like, that would have been a great fucking... I would have been like,
or
alright.
they open the cash register and it's just fucking Monopoly money.
And yeah, keys just come down. And it's like... Okay, yeah. See, we're in a better mood right now. So I really loved Eddie Bracken as Mr. Duncan. So he kind of gives this little speech about going ahead and, like, I guess every Christmas Eve, he goes ahead and gathers all the money that they make in toys and takes it over to like a children's center or something, like children's hospital or something like that. I appreciate that. That's a very sweet gesture, which makes it all the more despicable what the wet bandits want to do and just steal from sick children. I know New York, I can't imagine is a... I would imagine people don't stop for a lot of shit because, you know, New York just has so much weird shit happening all the time. But the concept that the wet bandits come up to Kevin and Kevin just screams like fucking Aretha Franklin. like he is screaming like, oh my god, it's like a high pitch, like it's like a fife, and no one stops and kind of goes like, why is this kid screaming at these two really shady looking adults, and why like no one even approaches them. He just like runs, he like screams really loud, and then just belts across the street, and no one's like, oh, that seems kind of peculiar. like damn, New York, get your shit together. Like, it's just it's kind of fucked up when you think about it.
Very fucked up.
Yeah, so I mean, don't get mugged in New York, I guess. So the hotel staff, they of course discover the cards are stolen. I love the way, and this is actually probably my biggest complaint, is the whole gangster film scene, because he did the same thing, more similar, that's improper English, Jesus. He goes and does the same thing in the original Home Alone to get the pizza from the little Nero's guy. I think it worked there because it's a dumb teenage kid and it's just one person. Here, he does the same thing, and he tricks this whole hotel staff into thinking that there's, like, a violent, like, act happening.
Here's my thoughts on that, too.
Okay.
Like, obviously, the movies in the Home Alone universe, these gangster movies, they're obviously pretty popular.
Yeah.
You're telling me not one of those people would be like, I recognize this?
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, it's a very convenient thing. Also, when Kevin runs out the hotel, he kind of like runs off this dock, and the wet bandits just happen to be there, and I'm like, okay, how would they like Kevin in theory could have went out the front door, but he happens to go off this dock where the wet bandits are. It's a very like, all right, like that's whatever. The thing I didn't like in this, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. I thought the pigeon lady thing, I just did not care as much as I did about the guy in the first one. I know, I'm so sexist, but I don't know. I was like listening to her story, I was like, well, it seems like you just kind of like it didn't seem like it. How do I phrase this? It seemed like the way she was explained, she had multiple chances at love, and she just kept shoving people away. And I'm kind of like, well,
and that's why she's homeless.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, I thought the same thing. I was like, so how did you go from that to being homeless? Like, were they your sugar daddies and they were paying for everything, or like Christina? Like,
yeah,
kinda,
there's definitely missing parts to her story that don't add up for sure.
Yeah, that was just one of those things. I went, well, all right. Like, I mean, look, I think that they leaned into like more the kind of like what happened as far as like the breakups and all that. That could have at least been. It could have been enhanced enough that I wouldn't have that thought of how you become homeless. Like, but they would never go that dark in this movie. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, like my ex and I, we used to snort crack, and then he chose crack over me, and he OD'd, and now I'm by myself. Like it was something like that. I'd go, oh wow, like
I gave up crack for pigeons, and
yeah.
here we are.
Okay, you know what? That would have been beautifully tragic. I actually would have been okay with that. But as a music nerd, I do appreciate the fact he kind of has this like almost like this almost like a coop, a pigeon coop, like in this like concert hall. I actually thought that was a very nice little touch. I was like, okay, like if there's a very hilarious way to see all these famous artists for free, boom, there you go. And it kind of reminded me of like drive-in theaters where if you like turn your car to that frequency, you could like hear the movie without being there. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. So Kevin, basically, long story short here, goes ahead and gets into another tiff with the Wet Bandits because of the money going to the children's hospital. I do actually really appreciate the fact that in a admittedly kind of convenient set of circumstances, I think it's Peter's brother has a house in New York, and they're in Paris on vacation, but they're renovating the house, so there's all these like tools and stuff. I mean, a little convenient, admittedly, but at least something I can buy as far as why there'd be another house with all this shit.
And my problem with that is I don't think that house is being renovated. I think it's being condemned.
Oh,
it is not in great condition
that's
whatsoever. Like,
okay.
Like, if you're gonna renovate your house, you don't have like a 3-story hole going through the center of it.
You know, that's actually a really fair point. Okay, yeah, I did not think about that. God, you kind of blown my mind right now. Shit. Okay. Well, fuck. Okay. Damn. That kind of threw a whole monkey right in what I was thinking. I did not think about that.
I think they said they were renovating it, but they're really just embarrassed. Or maybe they foreclosed on the house, and they just don't want to admit it.
I mean, that could be it. I do appreciate the fact, though, that Kevin makes the conscious choice to go, okay, these kids need to get, like, their fucking money. I'm going to make a conscious decision, go ahead and condemn myself to another Christmas of trying to, you know, not get killed by these fuckers. I appreciate that. And I thought the rock through the window was a very nice touch. I was like, you know what? Okay. Now, granted, the seesaw thing that happens right after that, physics do not work like that. And no. Yeah, and that starts our new death toll because Harry should have been killed for as high as when the air in the backflip he did and all that shit. Like,
that'd be internal bleeding for sure.
Yeah, you'd be dead. I will say this is why I like this movie more than the first one. I thought the traps were better. I thought the violence, as fucked up as it's gonna sound, I thought it was actually better this time around. I absolutely love the fucking fact that Harry flat out puts it to him and goes, "Hey, there's nothing I'd like to do better than to shoot you." I was like, holy shit, okay, just laying your cards all out there. I appreciate that. But he even says that in a very disturbing line that, you know, killing a kid's not really going to do much for me. I'm like, so are you talking about, like, mentally won't rent much, like, real estate up here? Or, like, what are you saying? Like, there's multiple avenues on that. I thought it was great. I fucking love that shit. And I was like, damn. Kind of your thoughts on the guys, like.
I just realized something that I didn't notice before. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
here,
please.
But don't they have the money already?
Yes, yeah.
So they're just there for this vendetta, essentially.
No, well, the tape, because he has
Oh,
the tape.
yeah. Because he has the camera. He has
yeah.
Of them saying that they were doing all that.
Yeah. But that brings up a good point, though. Like if you go to, like, Peru or somewhere, like...
They're already what's the word for an escaped convict?
And they're already kind of scot-free,
like it's not like having evidence that they robbed is gonna do anything because they're already
They already escaped prison.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're already on the run.
I didn't even think about that.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh shit.
So it's
dude.
just pure hatred for Kevin.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate. So it seems like Marv is just kind of dumb, but Harry clearly is the one who just really hates Kevin. Like I appreciate that. I appreciate that level of petty. Just being like, I want to kill this kid because, he put us in jail. And so there's a scene where Kevin is just throwing bricks at Harry, and he keeps moving, hitting Marv. And I was sitting here smoking. I won't lie. I was sitting here smoking my bowl last night. I was laughing so fucking hard last night. I was like, these bricks now again. I think it was MythBusters did the whole thing about if you drop a penny from the Sears Tower, like would it like kill you? So the concept that Kevin is throwing bricks from a rooftop, and just hitting this guy in the head over and over, and he's still his head isn't just splattered all over the sidewalk. In itself is hilarious in itself, but it does lead to just one of my favorite action scenes in this whole movie. There's a great callback to the fact that Kevin goes ahead and tries to use the cans again, and they do the classic sitcom trope like, let's get him, stomp on the steps and don't actually move. And then Kevin hits them with what the fuck is it, like a giant beam or something?
I was wondering that myself. It's like a metal banister piece. I
Yeah.
don't know what you would even define that as.
But that scene made me laugh. There's a scene where Harry gets pulls on the string and gets hit in the head with a bunch of wrenches, which I cringed at that.
One of my favorites is when Marv tugs on the rope that's attached to the
flour
bag of cement.
Yeah.
Like, oh, must be good. He ain't gonna get me this time. But like, would you really think that there would just be a random rope that would be not attached to something that's going to smash your face?
I mean that's a fair point, but I remember like I wasn't expecting a lot from that. I was intrigued by the new setup, and I was not expecting a lot of the gags I got. Kevin hooks up not jumper cables. He hooks up like these like this AC/DC ARC to the sink because he got Marv to get hit with all this like paint and primer and shit, which is fucking gross. Like even the smell of paint is let alone sure doesn't taste great. I would imagine that it doesn't. So, but it leads to him getting electrocuted. I thought that shit was really funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like that's the thing about his traps though is that in order for some of them to work, it has to be like A, B, and C has to happen before E. Marv didn't get the paint on his face. He wouldn't go for the water or the sink rather, and he wouldn't get electrocuted. And it works the same way.
I mean that's a fair point. Some of these, I mean, obviously several of these would still be very effective even without the CDE, but it is kind of like a building joke where you get the one point of torture, but then you get the second point of torture. I thought the part where he tied that rope to that rolling cart of tools, I was like, that's when I kind of went, oh, that's kind of fucking evil, but I appreciate how clever that.
Yeah.
I appreciate how clever that shit is. There is a point where he legit sets them on fire because he soaks a rope in kerosene because he like climbs down off the roof, and then as they're climbing down, he lights the rope, and you're like, oh my god, this kid is like I don't know how much time this kid had to do all this. This is at least 3 hours worth of shit to do though.
And how do they trust the rope at this point? Didn't they learn their lesson from Home Alone 1 with the whole zip line thing going on?
Yeah, ain't true, but there's no ladder or anything, so I guess you have to trust the rope, but
they're just blinded by hatred at this point.
I mean, honestly, you could be right, because they just hate this little fucker so much. I mean, he legit breaks their noses, and they show him, like, turn them back into place, and you're like, oh, that's fucking rough, but, getting to the end of this movie, I did appreciate, while I didn't appreciate the Pigeon Lady's whole arc, I appreciate the fact that Kevin is basically running to Central Park to go ahead and let off fireworks. Kevin eats shit and slips on some ice, and someone that has had that happen, that shit hurts like a motherfucker. Like, it hurts. So when he gets, like, when he's, like groggy and all that shit, I went, yeah, that's pretty fucking accurate. I love the visual, and this is going to sound so fucked up, but I don't care. I love the visual of Harry reaching into his pocket, pulling out that gun, and it's like soaked in all the grime and all that shit. Because they're just like, because he's over. He's like, I'm going to shoot this fucker right now. Like, fuck this kid. And I appreciated that. I don't know if you guys thought about this, but when Pigeon Lady throws the bird feed on the wet bandits to save Kevin, all it made me think, and Alea pointed this out to me, and I went, oh, I didn't even think about that. The fact that those pigeons are like gonna die because they're eating the bird feed off of those chemicals,
like soaked in varnish.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Damn, she just sacrificed all her pigeons.
Right. I know. It's like, what a bitch. But
she killed her whole family just for Kevin.
I know. Well, it's another family she'll never have. I really do appreciate the end of this movie, though, because he wrote a note to Mr. Duncan about the whole, like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to smash your window, but, in just fine means, sorry. I actually thought that was really sweet. Now, granted, this would also lead to the fact of how he'd know what hotel they're staying at. Well, I guess the logo might have been on the paper he threw, so maybe that's how. But it leads to them, waking up Christmas morning, there's all these presents. I thought that was actually really cute. Buzz, for a rare moment, actually gives Kevin a little bit of props, and it's like, oh, if Kevin hadn't screwed up again, then we wouldn't be in this like picture perfect situation, which they are. Like this family is just like, they need to be playing the lottery because they are lucky like a motherfucker when it comes down to it. The thing that made me laugh, and this is probably the part for me I had the biggest problem just accepting. Christine, you said this family spent $50,000 like flying back in theory.
Yeah, on a low end.
So they get the oh my gosh, I cannot think today, guys. Sorry.
The room service bill.
Thank you. And it's it's just a shade under $1,000. So the fact that the dad freaks out the way he does, he yells so loud, Kevin hears him in the park. Which, by the way, God, you just let your kid walk out in the park on Christmas Eve. By the way, like,
nobody noticed. Once again,
yeah, just a shitty parenting. But seriously, God damn it, this movie is so much fun. It's really sweet. It's all the Christmas tropes. Of course, Kevin and his mom, Kate, go ahead and reunite at a Rockefeller Center in front of the Christmas tree. Because of course they do. Like, even when she has a realization, like, oh, he loves Christmas. Like, he needs to be around his his parents and his family around the Christmas tree. And she goes, wait a minute. Like, take me to the Rockefeller Center. It's like, okay. But I like this more than I like the first one. I mean, honestly, because of the traps. I thought the traps were a lot more fun, and it does lean more into the Christmas aspect of this. And Kevin is a little bit the comebacks they're a little better this time around, which I appreciate. So I'll go first. I thought this was fun. I give it an A-, despite the many plot holes, admittedly. But this is a fun to watch. This is a blast to watch, and yeah, I really enjoy it. So A- for me. What you got?
I got A- too.
Got an A-?
I like the hijinks are better. The traps are better. You get kind of a more adventurous feeling because he's not just confined to his house. And then it shows you how resourceful he actually is because now he's outside of his house.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. What about you?
Yeah, I'm riding the coattails on the A- because I also just love, like, there's just things where Harry has his head on fire and puts his head in the toilet and it's got like gasoline or lighter fluid in it. Like, who thinks of that? Like, me as an adult, like, I would never think like, oh, this would be a great idea. Like, he nailed that to a T because there's no water running in the house. So there's just a lot of things that I feel like he stepped his game up for sure, and aside from, again, the loopholes with, them just magically being in the same city at the same place at the same time, it was just, I don't know, I loved it.
And this was John Hughes, who, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Uncle Buck. I love Uncle Buck. And Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, to name a couple. John Hughes is the man, and I enjoyed hell of this. So, guys, Home Alone 1 and 2, there you go. There is a Home Alone 3, but that's not worth talking about, so just don't, just don't see it. I saw it once, and, yeah.
It's like the sequel to Donnie Darko. It should just never be seen.
Wait, was there a sequel to it?
Yes, there was.
Wait, is there really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, I did not know that.
It was, I guess the director, when he made it, since he was kind of green,
yeah,
he didn't have his lawyer or whatever look over the contract that he signed, but essentially he didn't have the rights to it anymore. So
shit,
producers or whatever took it and they made the sequel, and it was just like a straight to DVD type movie.
Oh god,
it was just god awful.
Okay, I'm morbidly curious. I might have to watch that. What's it called? Do you remember?
I don't. It something that his like little sister is the main character, and it's like something Darko, like Stephanie Darko.
Yeah, S. Darko.
Yeah.
Oh my god, how have not 2009? When did I? Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it at some point. Like,
Oh, the stars.
oh man, I did not know that was even a thing.
I did watch it. I think I repressed the memory because I can only remember like one scene, and I don't remember what happens in that scene. It's just a car there. I think that's it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to fucking watch that. I'm genuinely curious because, like I said, I just saw Cats. I feel no pain right now. But guys, have you seen Home Alone 1 or 2? Hopefully you have. God help you if you haven't. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much for being on. You guys are welcome on anytime. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
And go ahead and check us out on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, and Spotify at The Real Pineapple. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this weekend for oh my gosh, why am I freaking blank on everything today? For Bombshell, we'll review up for Mrs. Fletcher season 1, and we'll review up as well for Just Mercy. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. Happy holidays, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.